Good evening, everybody. Saman will not be able to make it this evening, unfortunately, so I am filling in for her. Let me just get everybody on board that we need to get on board. Meanwhile, please enjoy the beautiful music of Kamyab Saderi, and I will be with you very, very shortly. در شاخ تو لاجم سایه ها رنگ سیاهی وزان دل خستگانت راست اندوهی فراهم تو را من چشم راهم تو را من چشم راهم شبا هنگام در آن دم که بر جا دره ها چون مرد ماران خفتگانم در آن نوبت که بندد دست نیلوفر به پای سرو کوهی دارم گرم یاد آوری آرد من از یادت نمی کاهم تو را من چشم راهم تو را من چشم راهم تو را من چشم راهم Right. Let me close that up. Was that perfect? Because that was the end of the song. Good evening, Tim. Hi, Jihad. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this evening's reading of 1001 Nights. Unfortunately, Saman cannot be with us this evening, but I am more than happy to step in for her. I hope you are all keeping well. And it is very lovely to see you this evening. For those of you who don't know, of course, my name is Joanna Godwin-Seidl. My hair's just about to fall out of its clip, so I'm going to take the clip out. Then I have to fiddle with it. My name is Joanna Godwin-Seidl. I am a director and actress, and I run Vienna Theatre Project. And I'm very happy to be your host. And I'm going to say the number right this evening, because for those of you who know me well, I am number dyslexic. And for some reason, I am very attached to the number 2. And whether we are reading the 301st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th night, I tend to say 200. But today I'm going to get it right. And I'm going to tell you that we are going to start now on... Ooh, wait. I think I'm missing... Am I missing it? Wait. Yes, no, we are indeed. I've got the right page. We are going to start on the 300, and don't say this one when you are drunk, 366th night. So the 366th night. I hope you are all sitting very, very comfortably. You've got a cup of tea in your hand or a nice glass of wine or something. And let's find out what's going to happen to our princess. Now, if you remember rightly, she left her parents in the land of, or the city of Sana'a, and flew off on a magic horse with the big love of her life, the prince, and they landed back in his city. I can't remember, I have to admit, I can't remember what the name of the city was, So they've landed back in his city, and he's gone to get his father, and they've brought out all the elephants and camels and big regalia to go and meet her. And the prince put her to keep her safe in a garden with this magic horse. Meanwhile, that nasty evil sage who gave the king the horse to begin with, thinking that he would get to the daughter in marriage, has been let free from his prison, and he's out for revenge because he's not happy that he didn't get the daughter, and now the prince has the magic horse, and he's out for revenge. And the prince has now arrived to introduce the princess to his great wealth and his father and family in this garden where he left her and the horse. And the princess has disappeared, and he found out that from one of the guards of the garden that an innocent sage had come in to pick some, I don't know, some herbs or something. So obviously the sage has done away with the horse and the beautiful princess. Let's hope this is all going to go well for everybody in the next installment of 1001 Exciting Nights. Now, when it was the 366th night, Scheherazade said, "It has reached me, O auspicious king, that when the prince heard their answer, he was certified that the sage had taken away the maiden and abode confounded and perplexed concerning his case. And when he was abashed before the folk, and turning to his sire, told him what had happened, and said to him, 'Take the troops and march them back to the city. As for me, I will never return till I have cleared up this affair.' When the king heard this, he wept and beat his breast and said to him, 'O my son, calm thy choler and master thy chagrin, and come home with us, and look what king's daughter thou wouldst fain have, that I may marry thee to her.' But the prince paid no heed to his words, and farewelling him, departed, whilst the king returned to the city, and their joy was changed into sore annoy. Now, as destiny issued her decree, when the prince left the princess in the garden house and betook himself to his father's palace for ordering of his affair, the Persian entered the garden to pluck certain simples, and scenting the sweet savour of musk and perfumes that exhaled from the princess and impregnated the whole place, followed it till he came to the pavilion and saw standing at the door the horse which he had made with his own hands. His heart was filled with joy and gladness, for he had bemoaned its loss much since it had gone out of his hand. So he went up to it and, examining its every part, found it whole and sound. Whereupon he was about to mount and ride away, when he bethought himself and said, "Needs must I first look what the prince hath brought and left here with the horse." So he entered the pavilion, and seeing the princess sitting there, as she were the sun shining sheen in the sky serene, knew her at the first glance to be some high-born lady, and doubted not but that the prince had brought her thither on the horse and left her in the pavilion, whilst he went to the city to make ready for her entry in state procession with all splendour. Then he went up to her and kissed the earth between her hands, whereupon she raised her eyes to him, and finding him exceedingly foul of face and favour, asked, "Who art thou?" And he answered, "O my lady, I am a messenger sent by the prince who hath bidden me bring thee to another pleasance nearer the city. For that my lady the queen cannot walk so far, and is unwilling of her joy in thee that another should forestall her with thee." Quoth she, "Where is the prince?" Quoth the Persian, "Oh, he is in the city with his sire, and forthwith he shall come to find some handsomer to send. And he shall come for thee in great state." Said she, "O thou, say me, could he find none handsomer to send to me?" Whereat loud laughed the sage and said, "Oh, yeah, yea, verily, he hath not a Mameluke as ugly as I am. But, O my lady, let not the ill favour of my face and the foulness of my form deceive thee. Hast thou not profited of me as hath the prince? Verily thou wouldest praise my affair. Indeed, he chose me as his messenger to thee because of my uncomeliness and loathsomeness and his jealous love of thee. Else hath he Mamelukes and slaves, pages, eunuchs, and attendants out of number, each goodlier than the other." Whenas she heard this, it commended itself to her reason, and she believed him. So she rose forthright, and Scheherazade perceived the dawn of day, and ceased saying her permitted say. Now, when it was the 367th night, she said, "It has reached me, O auspicious king, that when the Persian sage acquainted the princess with the case of the king's son, she believed him. So she rose forthright, and putting her hand in his, said, 'O my father, what hast thou brought me to ride?' He replied, 'O my lady, thou shalt ride the horse thou camest on.' And she, 'Well, I cannot ride it by myself.' Whereupon he smiled and knew that he was her master, and said, 'Oh, I will ride with thee myself.' So he mounted, and taking her up behind him, bound her to himself with firm bonds, while she knew not what he would do with her. Then he turned the ascent pin, whereupon the belly of the horse became full of wind, and it swayed to and fro like a wave of the sea, and rose with them high in the air, not slackened in its flight, till it was out of sight of the city. Now, when Shams al-Nahar saw this, she asked him, 'Ho, thou! What has become of that thou toldest me of my prince, making believe that he sent thee to me?' Answered the Persian, Allah damn the prince! He is a mean and skin-flint knave. She cried, Woe to thee! How darest thou disobey thy lord's commandment? Whereto the Persian replied, He is no lord of mine. Knowest thou who I am? Rejoined the princess, I know nothing of thee, save what thou toldest me. And retorted he, What I told thee was a trick of mine against thee and the king's son. I have long lamented the loss of this horse which is under us, for I constructed it and made it myself master of it. But now I have got firm hold of it and of thee too, and I will burn his heart, even as he hath burnt mine. Nor shall he ever have the horse again. No, never. So be good of cheer, and keep thine eyes cool and clear, for I can be of more use to thee than he. I am generous, as I am wealthy. My servants and slaves shall obey thee as their mistress. I will robe thee in the finest raiment, and thine every wish shall be thy will. When she heard this, she buffeted her face and cried out, saying, Oh, well away! I have not won my beloved, and I have lost my father and mother. And she wept bitter tears over what had befallen her, whilst the sage fared on with her without ceasing till he came to the land of the Greeks, and alighted in a verdant mead, abounding in streams and trees. Now, this meadow lay near a city wherein was a king of high puissance, and it chanced that he went forth that day to hunt and divert himself. As he passed by the meadow, he saw the Persian standing there with a damsel and a horse by his side. And before the sage was aware, the king's slaves fell upon him and carried him and the lady and the horse to their master, who, noticing the foulness of the man's favour and his loathsomeness and the beauty of the girl and her loveliness, said, Oh, my lady, what kin is this oldster to thee? The Persian made haste to reply, saying, She is my wife, and the daughter of my father's brother. But the lady at once gave him the lie and said, O king, by Allah, I know him not, nor is he my husband. Nay, he is a wicked magician who hath stolen me away by force and fraud. Thereupon the king bade Bastinado the Persian they beat him till he was well nigh dead. After which the king commanded to carry him into the city and cast him into jail. And taking from him the damsel and the ebony horse, though he knew not its properties nor the secret of its motion, set the girl in his seraglio, and the horse amongst his hordes. Such was the case with the sage and the lady. But as regards Prince Kamar al-Akmar, he garbed himself in travelling gear, and taking what he needed of money, set out tracking their trail in very sorry plight, and journeyed from country to country and city to city, seeking the princess and inquiring after the ebony horse. Excuse me, everybody. Whilst all who heard him marvelled at him and deemed his talk extravagant. Thus he continued doing a long while, but for all his inquiry and quest, he could hit on no news of her. At last he came to her father's city of Sana'a, and there asked for her, but could get no tidings of her, and found her father mourning her loss. So he turned back, and he made for the land of the Greeks, continuing to inquire concerning the twain as he went. And Scheherazade perceived the dawn of day and ceased saying her permitted say. And I just wanted to show you on this page, there's a very, very beautiful picture. I don't know whether you can see. I can't, unfortunately, I can't. Let me see if I can hold this. There we go. I love Oriental art. It's so beautiful. There is a very beautiful picture of Prince Kamar inquiring after the princess. Very lovely. So I'm going to take a sip of water, ladies and gentlemen. And continue on with the 368th night. Scheherazade said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the king's son made for the land of the Greeks, and continuing to inquire concerning the two as he went along, till, as chance would have it, he alighted at a certain khan, and saw a company of merchants sitting at talk. So he sat down near them and heard one say, 'Oh, my friends, I lately witnessed a wonder of wonders.' They asked, 'What was that?' And he answered, 'I was visiting such a district in such a city,' naming the city wherein the princess was, 'and I heard its people chatting of a strange thing that had lately befallen. It was that their king went out one day hunting and coursing with a company of his courtiers and the lords of his realm, and issuing from the city they came to a green meadow, where they espied an old man standing with a woman sitting hard by a horse of ebony. The man was foulest foul of face and loathly of form, but the woman was a marvel of beauty and loveliness, and elegance and perfect grace, and as for the wooden horse, it was a miracle. Never saw eyes aught goodlier than it now, nor more gracious than its make.' Asked the others, 'And what did the king with them?' And the merchant answered, 'Oh, as for the king, he seized him and questioned him of the damsel, and he pretended that she was his wife and the daughter of his paternal uncle. But she gave him the lie forthright, and declared that he was a sorcerer and a villain. So the king took her from the old man, and bade beat him and cast him into the trunk house. As for the ebony horse, I know not what became of it.' When the prince heard these words, he drew nearer to the merchant and began questioning him discreetly and courteously, touching the name of the city and its king, which, when he knew, he passed the night full of joy. And as soon as dawned the day, he set out and travelled sans surcease till he reached the city. But when he would have entered, the gatekeepers laid hands on him, that they might bring him before the king to question him of his condition, and the craft in which he skilled, and the cause of his coming thither. Such being the usage and the custom of their ruler. Now, when it was supper time, he entered the city, and it was then impossible to go in to the king or take counsel with him respecting the stranger. So the guards carried him to the jail, thinking to lay him by the heels there for the night. But when the warders saw his beauty and loveliness, they could not find it in their hearts to imprison him. So they bade him sit with them without the walls, and when food came to them, he ate with them what sufficed him. As soon as they had made an end of the eating, they turned to the prince and said, "What countryman art thou?" "I come from Fars," answered he. "The land of the Chosroes." When they heard this, they laughed, and one of them said, "Oh, Chosroan, I have heard the talk of men and their histories, and I have looked into their conditions, but never saw I or heard I bigger liar than the Chosroan, which is with us in the jail." Quoth another, "And neither did I see aught fouler than his favour, or more hideous than his visnomy." Asked the prince, "What have you seen of his lying?" And they answered, "He pretendeth that he is one of the wise. Now the king came upon him as he went a-hunting, and found with him a most beautiful woman, and a horse of the blackest ebony. Never saw I a handsomer. As for the damsel, she is with the king, who is enamoured of her, and would fain marry her, but she is mad. And were this man a leech as he claimeth to be, he would have healed her. For the king doth his utmost to discover a cure for her case, and a remedy for her disease. And this whole year past he has spent treasures upon physicians and astrologers on her account, but none can avail to cure her. As for the horse, it is in the royal hoard house, and the ugly man is here with us in prison. And as soon as night falleth, he weepeth and bemoaneth himself, and will not let us sleep." And Scheherazade perceived the dawn of day and ceased saying her permitted say. So I am going to finish for this evening, because I was up in the early hours of this morning today, as I had some meetings this morning with theatres. I want to wish you all a very, very, very good night. Hi, Danny. It's lovely to see you again. Hi, Yasmin. Hi, Zinu. I hope I said your name right. Hi, Lena. It's lovely to have had you all with me this evening. I hope you are all very well and keeping very healthy wherever you are all over the world. Do take care of yourselves. Unfortunately, here in Austria, the numbers are again going up, so it looks like we're due for another lockdown. At least it would appear that the shops are going to be closed for 2 weeks over the Easter period again. Theatres, restaurants, cinemas, opera houses, cafe houses, they all still cannot open, unfortunately. So I'm going to be reading for you for sure as easily as I am now, and Saman too for a good while longer yet, it would seem. Never mind. That's the way it is, folks. We just got to get through this and work our way through it as positively and in the best way we possibly can. I wish you all very, very many blessings. Thank you for joining me this evening. As usual, it was an absolute pleasure reading for you. Do take care, and I think I will be back with you again tomorrow to find out my guess is, and I swear, I honestly do not know, but my guess is now that the prince is going to pose as a physician and cure her, and then somehow they're going to get the horse and escape back to Fars. But I do believe the sage is still going to make a comeback yet, because he's not dead and he's still in prison. So I reckon something's going to happen with the sage. The prince is definitely going to pretend to be a physician and cure the princess, and somehow they're all going to escape and live happily ever after. Let's hope that that comes true, shall we? Good night, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Have a good evening. Have a good day. If your day's just started, have a beautiful sleep if you're just about to go to bed. Good night. Take care. Bye-bye.